Hi, I'm Dr. Sean Steen. Welcome back. I am a surgeon in California, and I want to show you how to make a cloth surgical face mask in 5 easy steps. And I want to show you how to do this without using any sewing machine. All you need is some stuff in your house. You need a ruler, you need a stapler, you need a pair of scissors, a pencil, a paper clip, a pipe cleaner, or a twisty tie from a bag of bread or something like that. And you need some needle and thread, okay? The first step is you take an old shirt. This is an old dress shirt. It's non-stretch fabric. And you go to the side that has the buttons on it, and you draw a box 7 inches down by 22 inches long across the whole seam that has the buttons on it. And the first step is we're going to go ahead and just cut out this box, and we're going to remove each of these buttons by cutting the stitches under the buttons that hold them on there. We don't want the buttons on there. So let's go ahead and do that. So now I've cut out this box from the shirt. This is the seam where the buttons were. The buttons have been removed by cutting the stitches underneath them. And I'm just going to take this box, which is 7 inches by 22 inches long. I'm just going to fold it in half here, and I'm just going to cut, making 2 separate boxes that are 7 inches deep by 11 inches long. Then what we're going to do is we're going to put them opposite of each other, and you're going to line up the bottom of one of them halfway down the pre-sewn seam of the other one, and fold this seam halfway over on it. And this is where your stapler comes in. In order to hold this until you stitch it by hand, we're just going to put a staple on there. And we're going to do this on all 4 corners. I'm going to go ahead and mark 1 inch in on both sides, because when I sew this hem, I want to stop 1 inch from the ends. I'm going to use black thread so it's easier for you to see, but normally I would match the thread to whatever color the fabric is, so you'd probably use thread that matches this color better. And you go ahead and just stick the end of the thread into the needle. Once you have the needle threaded, you want to tie a knot on the end of the thread. So now you have a knot on one end, your needle in the middle, 1 inch in from the end. So you start 1 inch in from the end. That's why we made those marks there. So I'm going to stop again 1 inch from the end where we made that little mark with our pencil. And I'm going to stop, and this is the inside because this is where the knot was on this end. I'm just going to go through the fabric underneath some of my stitches and loop it once or twice to hold this so it doesn't unravel. So we've stitched down, this is one of the seams, and I've left about a 1/4 inch space here, and I'll show you why we need that later. And I'm just going to do the same thing on the other side. You want to make sure that these marks are past where your stitches begin and end, because you don't want to cut them. Then go ahead and cut 1 inch in. So we have 1 inch cuts, leaving this little tag here. I'm just going to take this. There's 2 ply here, and you're just going to fold them on the inside. So let's say this is the top. You're going to fold these pleats over like this so that they face down. And when you fold one over, it's about 1/2 inch long. Just go ahead and staple it to hold it in place before you make your next one. And we're going to do 3 pleats. Make sure they face the same way on both sides. Now I'm just going to take my needle and thread and stitch this down, and I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. Okay, so now you have the pleated front of your mask, like this. It's looking pretty good. Now what I want you to do is take that shirt that we were cutting up in the first place, and if you look at the bottom of the shirt, there's a seam all the way along the bottom that's pre-stitched. And this is what we're gonna use for the ties that go around the back of your head from the mask. And I'm just gonna take a pair of scissors. I'm gonna cut the entire lower seam off. To go ahead and cut this seam off, which is the seam that runs under the arm of the shirt. And we're just gonna take this seam and we're gonna use it for an additional tie for the bottom of the mask. I'm just gonna cut that out on both sides also. So I've cut the bottom hem off the shirt and it gives you this nice long thin piece. And I took the side hems off from under the arms. Little 1-inch wings off the side. Go ahead and just take your scissors and cut them off. Now be careful not to cut the stitch where you have the knots on the stitch. You don't want to cut your knots and have your stitch unravel. So just cut these little 1-inch ends off. Now the top of the mask is this side because we want the pleats facing down. So as long as the pleats are facing down, we know that's the top. Now there should be a space inside of the hemline that you left because we didn't stitch all the way to the edge. And what you should do is take your twisty tie or your pipe cleaner and just slide it in there. And this is going to be for helping you form the mask over the bridge of your nose. You want a little bit of stiffness. That's the way regular surgical masks are made. There's a little piece of plastic with bendable metal in there that goes over the bridge of your nose. So I've slid that in here inside the seam into the middle of the mask. And then into that same space, you're gonna slide the end of your ties. Now this tie is really long. We just need half of it. So I'm gonna take the long tie, cut it in half. And this is where the paper clip comes in handy. Take your paper clip, just go ahead and open it up. We just need one end of it to kind of poke the string into that same space we just slid the pipe cleaner. And then what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna take my stitch, needle and thread, the knot at one end. Again, I'm gonna start on the inside where there's always all the knots start. That way everything looks clean on the outside. I'm just gonna stitch through the top of the mask, and I'm catching the tying strip in there. Okay, so I've stitched in all of the tie strips inside of the mask, so now they're securely attached to the mask. So here is the finished mask. This is an actual surgical mask. As you can see, it has ties also. Surgeons do not use the elastic straps that go behind your ears on our masks. For one, it hurts your ears, it pulls your ears forward and your glasses fall off. And it just digs into your head. It's much more comfortable to use a tie. It's a little bit tricky to put a tie on. Most of the time we bend the little piece of metal around our nose and then you tie the tie in the back, but it's a little bit difficult for people that don't tie all the time to actually tie behind their head. So what I recommend you do with the ties on the mask we just made is I would get one of these little spring-loaded balls that you put the straps through that can cinch down. Once you put that, I would put it just on the top straps. If you only have one, you can put them on both straps. Then tie a little knot so the ball doesn't fall off of the strings. And it's a lot easier than having to tie down behind your head. So you just put this over your head. You can just put this, bend it around your nose so it's super comfortable on the bridge of your nose. And go ahead and just cinch down. So here's the finished mask. You can see it conforms nicely around the nose because you have that little piece of pipe cleaner in there. It's nice and pleated and it goes under your chin. There's securing straps in the back, either with the tie ball or tie knot in it. And that's the end of it. I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you. Don't forget to subscribe below.